Yeah, this is a mild winter where I come from. I don't know how they call it. No snow. Anything close to snow. I just invited Beeple and Zach Burks on this call. They're both DMing me about NFT royalties, and that is the motivation for today's call. What's up, Zach? So here's our official agenda. We got Kobe in the house. Wow, we've got all the Philly expats on the scene right now. Nice.
More Philly folks.
We've got quite the group today. All right, let's do it up. So let me pull up this tweet. Beeple comes hot on the scene saying, I think the creative royalty argument is actually a lot simpler than people make it out to be. Creative royalty, we're talking about people that make NFTs and that are going to get paid when the NFTs are sold. That's what we're talking about. That's what a royalty is. Some people think you can force like a smart contract to collect royalties on payments. Some people think you should pay royalties. Some people think you should not pay royalties. Some people keep their mouth shut about what they feel about these things. And so we're just letting it all out right now. I'm going to come in hard here and just say what is possible, what is not possible. Because there's a correct answer to that. Not just what's possible here, like, what do we want? What can be enforced in this community, in this technology? This went back and forth a few times. We could talk in circles about what should or shouldn't be. Basically, Beeple's got a great argument here. The argument is royalties are basically optional payments. Look, when you buy or sell an NFT, you are expected, or there's a button to click to pay the royalty. If you pay that or not, it's kind of your choice. Really, the much more important thing is, do you want to pay that? Are you happy with that payment? You go to the restaurant and they're like, do you want to pay extra for tipping? You do it or you don't. Like, you don't have to. You sort of have to, but you sort of don't. And I'm in Buenos Aires today. I ordered a coffee and a yogurt, and the bill was like, basically I left the girl like a 50-cent tip, and she was ecstatic. Like, she's like, oh my God, you're my best friend. So that was not expected. But then other people, do expect tips and royalties and payments. So there's social norms around this. What gets you the tip? Why do we tip? Why do we pay royalties? Do we pay royalties because it's easier to just click the button and pay? Do we pay because do we even know that the money is going to the creator? Are we happy about that? What Beeple's trying to say is the technology doesn't matter. The matter is, if people want to pay this, they're going to pay. And the way that you make people want to pay is you don't destroy the collectors by oversupplying NFTs and not supporting them. And the way he says it is like this. And then he says if you treat them right, they're going to support you. So, let's open it up. We've got creators on this call right now, successful NFT artist sales. We got good stuff here. What do you feel? Really good points here. To be a professional artist needs to have a patron. So let's get into the technology here. So what fees can we enforce with NFTs for royalties? So I'm going to show you that yes, you can enforce a royalty payment on chain for NFTs, but it's extremely limited. Oh, let me pull up the second tweet here from Zach. Zach is the author of ERC 2981, which is the royalty standard. Zach Burks, thank you for 2981. And this is a cross-token specification for royalty payments. It's something you would deploy with a contract, and then you can ask it for a specific token and a specific sale price, what the receiver and the royalty amount should be. And typically this is processed off-chain, and it's nice to use a standard like this because when you've got 3, 4, when you got looks rare and X2Y2 and Rarible, you have to add all this stuff up. And if you're a marketplace, so if we're light.art, I just used 2981 a minute ago on this drop called light.art. We're selling art for 200 different photographers on however many marketplaces they sell on. So that means at the end of the month, we have to go look up each one of these people. We're getting checks from OpenSea. We're downloading CSV files. We're calculating. There's a lot going on. Being able to handle some of these marketplaces using ERC 2981 is a good thing. So more technology. Let's look at ERC 721. And what does it have to say about transfers? Transfers are how you get something from one wallet to another. And here it is. Transfer from can be payable. So that's the answer. You can require payments to transfer NFTs. You can. Let's go look at 1155, which is a multi-token standard, but is sometimes used for NFTs as well. Let's go find their transfer function. Save transfer from, external, not payable. Okay, that's different. Yes, ERC 721 can require payment of Ether to transfer an NFT. 1155 cannot require this in the safe transfer from, safe batch transfer from, and that's it. Okay, cool. So now we see it's in there. Now, why is it in there? Okay, so we can read ERC 721, and it says right there, the use case is charge a fee to both parties of a transaction or one or the other. Oh, fun fact, the approval function, the approve function in ERC 721, you can require a payment to sell an NFT because we thought that there might be an NFT representing a negative value, a debt, maybe a debt token. So somebody's going to say, you owe me money. And then they're going to make a token on you, which would be soulbound-ish, and then you can't get rid of it. And this represents a negative reputation. And the only way you could get rid of it is if you paid. You know, we were making this in 2017, 2018, right? So we did not know how this stuff was going to be used. We did not think it was going to be used 99% for artwork by the year 2022. We thought that we were going to have more use cases by now. And, they're starting to come out. But you can do a lot more than just trade profile photos with this stuff, right? So we were thinking about this, charging the seller to transfer an NFT. Okay, so what is the payment amount? So now here's the second major point. The payment amount is not known on chain. You're like, well, it seems like it's known on chain because OpenSea knows what the payment amount is. OpenSea does not know what the payment amount is. Nobody knows what the payment amount is unless you are the buyer. Let's go through this. This is a super important point. So if you're selling a thing, and this is going to get general, if you're selling a thing and somebody's buying that thing from you, nobody knows what the full price of that payment is except for the buyer and the seller. Maybe not even both of those people. Why is that true? You're selling a thing, I'm buying the thing from you.
Hey, thanks for letting me up.
But could one way be they just decide on their own? Are you getting to like how gas is fluctuating?
No. In real life, if you're selling something and I'm buying it from you, only you and I could possibly know the price between us. Nobody outside of the two people could possibly know in a consensual transaction what it is that we're trading. Not the government, not Ethereum, not a smart contract, not your mom, not my mom, nobody. Why?
Because it's just you two.
In life, there are certain times when you might not want other people to know how much you're paying for something. You might have to pay tax on that transaction. You might not be allowed to make that transaction. You might be buying something on the street that you want to smoke.
So it's basically like, for many reasons why people don't know because they don't need to know kind of type thing. It's just kind of like between you guys. Right?
Tell me how this would go down. You're selling a car, I'm buying a car.
I've done this before with a car, actually. I had like full cash, so I would just pay the whole thing in cash and then say that this person gifted it to me,
That's the answer. Where are you from? You from the U.S.?
Yeah, I'm from Boston. Actually, met you before.
Cool. In different states, we have different rules on selling cars and the way taxes work. I'm from Pennsylvania, and you're not allowed to say a car is free, but you're allowed to say a car costs $1.
You can do the same thing. So if you want to avoid the royalties.
Oh, yeah. I know. So you can actually make a private transaction in the real world. Somebody wants to send you $10,000 for a specific NFT, and that NFT has, like, I guess, some functionality behind it. You could just give it to them. You could just gift it over.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Like, let's say there's an auction, and then people are bidding on this thing. Well, when you're bidding, the price goes up. Theoretically, that's price discovery. The price should be in there. And so doesn't that defend against this? It doesn't. So I'm trying to spark it up. So how could you get away with that?
You can't get away with it because it's broadcasted to the world, right?
But in one scenario, the bid gets to a certain price, you're willing to pay more than that. You go to the seller and make an offer.
Yep, that's what you do.
That assumes something about the world, that like there aren't a lot of bidders, that it's not like a real market. Because if it's a wide auction market, and I'm just one potential buyer, and I try and do that, it's going to be hard to keep the price that I'm willing to sell at below whatever the seller might be getting on the marketplace.
No.
I guess it depends.
I need to know all these math words. If the market is liquid and there's a lot of buyers, you can't do this because there's just too many people bidding, and then you'll get out, like whatever private price you offered is going to get outbid. That's the conjecture. But actually,
Yep.
An auction, what an auction does, the definition of an auction is to take a highly liquid thing and then move to a price where there's only one person willing to pay it. So if the price is $1, if you're on eBay and you're buying something for $1, there's a million people that want a MacBook Air for $1, but there's only one person that wants it for $1,520. That's the definition of an market. An auction moves from infinite liquidity at zero price to one bidder at the highest price.
Yep. So then in the scenario, like the $1,500 person will still be able to pay, possibly a lot less than $1,500, depending on what the market looks like, right? If they're making a deal on the side.
Yep. So if the auction price is $1,500 and you got two bidders, so you get to a point in an auction where there's two bidders and then there's one bidder. If the bidder is going $1,500, the other's going $1,510, and now the person's like, okay, and the market slows down, and so we think it's going to close at $1,510. Then the $1,500 person calls in and he says, okay, here's my bid. My bid is $1,520, but I want to use the side channel. And then the seller says, okay. So now the end result is the seller's getting $1,520, but the buyer's saving, let's say 10% is saving $150.
Right. Unless the seller then goes to that second price person.
Yep.
And creates an infinite loop of.
Well, we get to a point where both people, if both of the buyers are doing it, then it's going to add, assuming efficient markets, this is just going to add 10% to the sale price, and all of the benefits going to go to the seller instead of the buyer.
Right.
And then assuming the market is not fully efficient, then the benefit's going to go to the buyer because there's not any other buyer at that price.
Yeah. I wonder how much of OpenSea transactions or OpenSea auctions are already operating like that.
That is a great question.
Not operating like that.
So, question: how many OpenSea channel buyer/seller collusion to avoid fees? Great question. We could probably figure this out.
Is this the main use case of NFT.life today?
Main use case, NFT.life. Let me give you two ways that we can enforce it. Yo, we got rug pulled pretty hard after that segment, so I'm just gonna finish reading after and post. How can you actually enforce NFT royalty payments? Some of the things you can do to enforce it on-chain is if the seller sends the asset on consignment to an auctioneer, no matter what this thing is going to sell. Also means no matter what, they're going to pay a sales fee for this thing. On eBay, you call this $1 initial bid, no reserve. The seller could always put a bid in by colluding with one of the bidders. In that case, they're going to have to pay a fee to the auctioneer. Next, because there's always an opportunity to go around the auction if you can bail, the bid increment needs to be larger than the collusion savings. If our collusion savings would be, let's say on OpenSea, a VIG of 2.5% plus, let's say, a royalty of 5%, that's a total of 7.5%, then the increment on the bid needs to be larger than 7.5%. Why? Because all of these small bids can be negotiated off the network behind the scenes. If the bid increment is larger than 7.5%, then you should not accept one of these small side bids because what you're throwing away is the next big bid that would wash away that number. Charts here would look great, but we're not doing charts right now, so you just got to imagine. Okay, so this is only reliable if the fee is a fixed price fee, if you're going to do this at the contract level. One fixed amount per transfer. That's a way that you can enforce it at the contract level, not at the marketplace level. Another way you could do it at the contract level is if there's some bonding curve. Bonding curve is just means a function. People abuse that word. It could be time-based. It could be total ETH value or something. If there's a lot of transfers, the cost of transferring goes up or down. You can make some game out of it. You can use game dynamics to set the payment amount. And again, that would be at the contract level, so you can't get around it whatsoever. You can enforce this off-chain. So you could use an appraiser. For example, this is something that is done, at least where I live. At the end of the year, when you have to pay your school taxes, which we pay locally, they're going to hit you for the appraised value. So there's going to be somebody comes out and they're going to spend 4 seconds looking at Google Maps at the outside of your house to see if you added any structures. And then they're going to add 10% to whatever it was last year. Now that's going to be your appraised value, right? These are encumbrances. So if we've got a smart contract where there's a fee built into the transfer, that's an encumbrance. You can't do the transfer without paying the fee. There's other type of encumbrances that I've seen implemented on real world assets, houses, cars, things like that. One of them, obviously they don't do this anymore, but it was funny, sad funny. I actually saw somebody who bought a house that has an encumbrance like this. It was a land grant, comes from the government to a party, and then this grant just gets passed down as you buy the house, right? So hundreds of years ago, when the house was originally granted, the first person sold it, put a restriction on skin color that you can't buy this house. This is a contract, right? So this is something that was in a contract. Obviously, this is unenforceable since the 19th century, but it's in the thing you signed that you're saying you're not going to sell it to a certain kind of people. Same thing is up here. You've got a smart contract that says you're not going to transfer without a certain price, and then other use restrictions. There are ways that you could have a contract where a thing is for sale, you're not allowed to use it in a certain way, and there's another party, they would have standing to sue you. For example, I have a friend, he owns a house, he wants to buy the lot next door to expand his backyard, but it's currently owned by the local watershed who has an interest of not putting any houses there. In order to expand his backyard, he would have to make an agreement with the watershed, and the watershed is not going to sell the land fee simple. They're going to sell it with an encumbrance that's going to go in the deed, and it's going to go down for generations, and they're basically never going to give up this encumbrance on the property. This is something that we're seeing all the time in property rights. You get a house in the city. Nobody can just buy houses in the city anymore fee simple. You have to be part of a homeowners association, and they can vote to do whatever they want, and they can control the color of the paint on the outside of your house. We can see that with NFTs too. NFTs can be owned by smart contracts. Smart contracts can be controlled by DAOs, by other parties. There's no reason you can't make an NFT with an encumbrance that prevents you from selling it to certain people or from breeding your cat with other cats. There's plenty of room for this, but when you see people really taking NFTs seriously and the games that are behind them, if they care about the game more than they care about the NFT itself, you will see encumbrances. You will see smart contracts enforcing encumbrances, just the way you see houses and HOAs and all of that. And obviously, each party has to agree to this terms of sale to become effective. And then the last thing we brought up in this call is licenses. A lot of the NFT sales right now, they are thought of as first sale doctrine. I make a thing, I sell it to you, you have the thing, you sell it to someone else. It's a sale. If you actually look at ERC 721 and all the improvements, we're using the word owner, owner of. Owner implies first sale doctrine. That's just a word, right? It's an English word, English common law, really. And that's what owner kind of means. But actually, a lot of these NFTs are sold more like a license. If you don't have 100% usage rights over that thing, and the artist who sold it to you can make other copies, you're not the owner.